Welcome to the third option. I beat you.
Welcome to the third option. I said it better.
Oh, welcome to the third option.
Wow. Okay, that was good. I'm Rick, and this is Judi.
And we're
And
here today to talk about politics.
yes, you are going to hear what where what our political positions are.
We don't
There.
normally talk about
No, we
politics.
don't much, and the reason one of the reasons is because it gets talked about enough. We think, but we if you know where we're coming from by this time, if you watched as much at all, we come from what we call the third option, which is love, and we have a different take on it than maybe a lot of people do. We do have friends on the left and on the right, and these are uh, people that disagree very very much on things, but on both sides, these people we love very much because we see that they're very good-hearted people. They mean well. They have different ideas on how what policies should be instituted and which ones need to be done away with. And so, because we love and we have, I think, because we do listen, we have some understanding of both sides. We're not real black and white on everything. Um, we do have opinions. We do have ideas on policies that we like and which ones we don't. But we, in the last episode, we did talk about the politics of hate and how politicians and a lot of the media simply serves to inflame that hate. The media does it because it's good financially for them, and politicians do it because they want your vote and they want to scare you and make you angry, so they can have political power. They don't care so much about me, but they do care about having the power. And if they think that catering to what I like will serve them, then they will try to hit on that too. But because there has been, it seems to us, to been more inflammation of the politics of hate. It seems to have had such a strong voice and influence. We have found ourselves in a place that we call stuck in the middle with you. Kind of like the song Clowns to the left of me, Jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you. And when I say in the middle, it doesn't mean that we don't have any ideas or we don't have any stand on any things or we don't, and it doesn't mean certainly that we don't participate, that we vote. We are very interested in politics and especially government, I should say. We're really interested in government and policies and things. We are interested. But we're different in the sense that because we've moved more and more away from the politics of hate, you don't hear us joining in with a lot of the noise that's being made today when people talk about politics.
I sometimes think it makes you small. Like instead of being a unique individual with unique perspectives and ideas, it's like you either have to think all of one way or all of another way. And if there's any
Yeah,
shades of difference, you're put into a box, like a
yeah,
small box. And I feel like there's more wisdom in us. There's more perspectives and unique stories that
and
educate us
and
or
we're
that give us why we think the way we do.
Yeah, yeah. And we look into that. We really talk about it a lot between ourselves, don't we? We talk about issues and we talk about the current events of the day between ourselves a lot because we're sorting these things out and trying to think about them. And something I have noticed when it comes to politics is that it seems that a lot of times people will gravitate to one side or the other, one party or the other, let's say Republican or Democrat. And a lot of times they'll do it because of a certain issue that's important to them. Maybe they joined the right because they thought fiscal responsibility was real important. I don't think that's such a big deal in the party now, but at one time it was. And so they get in with that. And next thing you know, they kind of just adopt everything else that they believe. Well, I guess I'm for guns too, and I guess I'm, against gay marriage, and I guess they just kind of adopt everything. And on the left, the same thing. Maybe you got in with them because you're for gay rights, and you think that's important to you, and so that's your thing. But then you're also going to hate gun ownership too, or different things. And we sort of normally we just adopt the whole thing, because what we do, whether we mean to or not, is we join a team, and it's yay for our side, yay for our side. And that gets back to that we're good and they're evil. There are two sides. There's a good side and a bad side, and we're the good side.
And we
And,
want the power.
mhm.
So we've got to team together to get that
And
power.
we're because we discuss it a whole lot, and we're not vested in a team so much. We would be seen as more objective, or more we'd be called moderate, but moderate, I don't really like the word that much, because it sounds like you don't care.
I like independent thinking.
Independent thinking, yeah. And honestly, I would think both of us, we like some things that are being promoted on the right, and we like some things that are being promoted on the left, and we have understanding of that. That if your heels are dug in and you're committed to your team, you're not allowed to like anything from that other team. And that sort of has gotten ingrained in our souls. So what we have found ourselves doing over time is that we have changed our views on things because we keep getting information, but we also, um, over time, we moved away from news sources that have a team agenda. For instance, we used to watch a news source that was very obviously on a team of the right, the conservative, and they would demonize anything else and everything else that would come from the left. We also used to watch another, and I'll say CNN because it's a big one, and other that would watch that, and they seem to stand for one side, and they would demonize everything that seemed to come from the other. And so that's agenda driven. And so we gravitated away from news sources that were promoting a certain party or that side.
I think when there was respectful conversation between two different views, we watched. And when it became where the opposing side was like a cartoon of a person, and then the other person just
Yeah.
beat the crap out of them, like
Yeah.
when that happened, I really lost interest in watching that.
Yeah. And so because we stand for love, we're like, is there any place that's willing, like we were reading from the book of James in our last episode, willing to yield, willing to understand anything about the other side? Or can they only say they're evil and stay away from them and don't agree with them and don't vote for them? And so I can remember a number of elections ago, um, watching a primary debate, and everybody was talking their party stuff. They were just party line things. And there was one man and his name happened to be John Kasich from Ohio, and he was talking about love. And he was talking about, no, I don't agree with this policy that's enacted right now. But but it is the law, of the land, and I recognize that. And he says, I wish it wasn't. But he says, but we need to have kindness and understanding for people that disagree with us. And he would talk like that kind of language a lot, and that's my language. And I'm like, oh, I love that. It was such a breath of fresh air to hear a politician of all people talking like that, and not just trying to inflame. So all the rest of them were trying to out inflame the other one. They were all trying to either out right wing or in that particular case, it was out right wing, um, and and try to gather that. And I thought, oh, I like this guy. And then um, I had started to listen to the POTUS channel on Sirius XM because of really just one show. because I had come across one time while driving, there was a show where there was a conservative and a liberal that would talk. And they weren't just debating, they were giving their different sides and views. And it was really good and it was really informative. And they were, and I was seeing where both of them come from. And I'm like, this is the kind of stuff that is objective. I like this. This stimulates my thinking. It makes me see things maybe in a different way. I'm getting smarter. I'm learning things that I would never learn if I just listened to that channel or that channel. So I liked it. Well, after that show, there came another show where a guy was interviewing John Kasich. And I thought, oh, I'll listen to this too, because I like Kasich and loved the things that he was saying. And I found out that this particular journalist was very, very objective. He wasn't hateful. He wasn't angry at one side or the other. In fact, I couldn't even tell at first if what side he was on. And I started listening to him more, and sometimes I wouldn't agree with him because I thought he was being too much this and too much that. But he really tried hard to bring information from both sides and try to bring understanding. And and he's developed to where he's become a very reliable news source, and there's no agenda of trying to convince me to join the team on the right or join the team on the left. And he takes information, he'll take calls and views from people and do interviews of people that he may not agree with at all, and he will press them and give them questions on the issues. And it's all about educating and us getting all the information that we can, and not trying to hide some information and just give us one side of things. And that appeals to my intellect. It appeals to my sense of goodness and reality and love. And so as I became more that way, I found out that I started noticing that people that think like me, that do not follow 100% in line with everything that the leader of this party thinks or says, they would get ostracized. They would be congressmen and senators, and they would get ostracized, and they would kick them out of committees, and they would censor them. And these were people that had been in the party for a long time, and now they're not even allowed to speak. They're not allowed to have those views. And I thought, well, if my party that I was a part of does not allow those views, they don't allow me. They don't want me. If they don't want that person, then they don't want me. And so, after a while, we talked about it for years. After a while, we decided, you know what? There's neither party that really sounds like what we're hearing in our hearts. And we hated to do it, but we registered independent. We thought that's the thing that we could most identify with. I could no longer identify with either party because for me, I felt that the politics of hate and a lack of wanting to understand and have empathy, I felt like it didn't represent me and you.
Yeah, and part of
And we
what
both made it. We made our choices individually. I
Mhm.
felt I made it for me, and you made it for you.
Well, and part of what our the difficulty was is now you're removing yourself from the primary election,
And we hate that.
and that's not something we really want. But on the other hand, we're I think to stay true to our core values, the independent being independent felt more representative of who we are.
Yeah, because the political forces, it seemed like they wanted to own us, like we were not allowed to think certain things, and I like the independent identity because, like you said, it goes with our core values. We're able to love people on both sides, and we're able to consider some things from both sides objectively without having to automatically hate it just because it came from that side.
Mhm.
And I like that, and the spirit of love within us seems to go along with that. It clashed with how politics was going.
Mhm.
And even though we're very interested and many of the issues are important to us as it is with others, we didn't want to sacrifice the fruit of the Spirit, the love of God, the joy, the peace, the gentleness, and the kindness. We didn't want to sacrifice it for being on a team, on one of the world's teams. And political parties um, they're teams that are contrived by the world. They're not from the kingdom of heaven.
Mhm.
The Democrats or the Republicans are not something that God gave us from heaven. it's
No.
something it's something that we join because it's a man's system, and I honestly wish there was not a two-party system. I'd love for there to be three, but a lot of our fear and anger keeps us from having a third. I think. Um, but anyway, so because I feel like we began to identify more with the third option, we began to identify more with things of the spirit, things of the kingdom of heaven. A lot of those things clashed with with a lot of the rhetoric that comes from the parties. Even the party that I was a part of, the rhetoric that was coming forth, it would hurt me. It would
Mhm.
hurt my spirit. It would hurt that people were talking about those they disagree with in the way that they were. And it hurt that it seemed like because they were only getting information from one side, one source, they were swallowing things hook, line, and sinker when we had been trying to look at this whole thing objectively. And above all things, not wanting to lose our love and compassion and, um, and attempting to have empathy and understanding for all people, because ultimately that's what it comes down to for us, that we would be one. We read from James 3 in our last episode that the wisdom from below, that's earthly, sensual, and demonic, it's self-seeking and divisive, and no, and even if you think you're doing it in the name of good, you'll notice that it just continues to propagate every evil work. But the wisdom from above is willing to yield, and it's not divisive. That's what the book of James 3 says. And so it doesn't divide us. It sees people that agree, that might disagree with us on some things, but we can still be one. We can still be together. We don't have to hate and divide. And that's what we wanted to get away from, because it seemed like if we weren't divisive, we weren't wanted. We weren't allowed.
Mhm. Oh, and it's been said that you can't be a Christian and
Yeah,
not be
people were saying
Republican.
that if you that you couldn't vote for this thing or vote for this person or whatever, and still be a Christian. I mean, you'd be judged that way. And I'm like, Lord, what have we come to here? It's like we had been overtaken with some things that have caused us to not be as sharp in the spirit um, as we could be. So we want to be a part of something that's restorative. We want to be part of something that is bigger, a fight that is bigger than some of the things that we think are the more important things. And
Mhm.
even though some of these things are important, the most important thing to us was that this love has to continue to abound.
Yeah.
There has to be love more than anything, not at the cost of something else.
Mhm.
I know, we feel like we can mix love into what we're doing a little bit, but I'm talking about more than that. I'm talking about it ruling and reigning in the earth in a way that I see it can bring peace, it can bring restoration, it can bring goodwill to all men. And it's not about the kind of restoration that comes by defeating the quote the other, certain groups or the other side. That's not that wasn't what Jesus came to bring.
Yeah, I think in my perspective, my perception, Jesus was always befriending the other. He was
Always
shocking the
the other.
system that said, those people over there, these people over here. He was shocking them by veering right towards the ones that they would
Always.
else. And so um it doesn't feel right to create others.
God doesn't believe in others.
Yeah, I don't
He
see
he
that.
doesn't. Listen to the Bible language. He breaks down the middle wall of partition. He erases like in Christ. There's not this or that and the other. There's not us and them in Christ. The Bible is clear on that. So when we're adopting something that creates us and them, according to James 3, that's the wrong spirit. That's
Mhm.
it's a wisdom. It looks like a wisdom, but he says very clearly, he says, but remember, this wisdom does not come from above. It is earthly, it plays to our senses, and it's demonic. And he says, but the wisdom from above is first of all, it's peaceful, it's gentle, it's uh approachable and willing to yield. And that's a big one, because if they play to our fears, what I hear a lot of times is, no, we can't budge, we can't yield, we got to go stronger than ever now so we can win. And um, we want to promote the third option in every part of our world, even in our politics and even in our social situations. Love speaks very powerfully, and it covers a multitude of sins, and it brings restoration, and the
Mhm.
whole earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord. And I don't, even concerning Christianity, that I hate that I've had to think of this sometimes, but I almost think that the term you almost don't even want to be associated with the term in some ways, because of how people see it. And and when I hear certain people that they demean some of the causes that we see Christianity rising up to, and I'm like, yeah, that's not us. That's not how we feel. That's not how we think. And um, we have our own mind, and so does everybody else should have their own mind. And I think that all of, no matter what team we've joined, whether it's on the left or the right, I think we should sit back and get objective and say, I'm not going to listen to inflammatory um, news presentations. I'm going to try to find, and they're there. They're there if you want to find it. I've seen them come up in my emails as this unprejudiced newsletters and news sources and things. Um, but if we want to be inflamed, we will. And if we continue to be inflamed by the politics and the media of anger, fear, and hate, where does this go? It just goes to more, as James chapter 3 said, it brings about every evil work. And it brings about what we saw with an assassination last month. And that's not the only one. There have been politically induced killings from both sides,
Mhm.
because it just brings every evil work. Not one side is better than the other in this. It comes from inflammation.
Mhm.
And in the physical body,
Yeah,
inflammation is a root of all
everything.
diseases, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what James is saying. This is the root of every evil work that's going on here.
Mhm.
But we can be deceived by thinking that we're fighting for the right, but we can't forsake the love one another. We can't forsake love for each other. We can't forsake treat others as you would like to be treated.
Mhm.
Love others as you would love yourself.
Mhm.
And that means that there can't be contempt for anyone. That means we can't have an enemy.
Mhm.
Do you realize God does not have any enemies?
He loves all of
See, there's people that think he's got enemies. He loves us all. He has no enemies. There might be people that say, I hate God,
but they're not God's enemy.
but they're not his enemies. He
He
loves
loves
the
them.
whole
Yeah.
world, always did before he gave Jesus. He loved. So that's why he gave.
Mhm.
And that's the way God sees things. And if we can grow spiritually, if we, and sometimes it helps us to get out of the hate of inflammation politics, and and just step back and get a God's eye view of things and say, look at humanity and feel the heartbeat of God, and open yourself up to feeling how God feels about people that disagree with me and you,
Mhm.
and get a God's eye view of things. And you start to see, this is what has happened to me, is that the lines that I saw between people they started to be erased. And I'm
Mhm,
like, oh my goodness, I've been looking at this all wrong. Those were my lines that were
mhm,
drawn between us and them and this group and that group. In God's vision, they don't exist.
mhm,
They're all people. They disagree on many things. They're trying their best. They're afraid. They're angry, scared. There's all these things, not excuses, but reasons that people are motivated in the ways that they are, that God loves them and understands it all, and he knows what the answer is. That's why he planted Jesus in the earth,
mm,
because the answer was going to be an unconditional love. You don't have to be one of us.
mhm,
And but you are one of us.
mhm,
That's the thing. And we need to start seeing our country as as one. It's not us against them. We're sharing this country. We got people that disagree with us,
mhm,
people that disagree with us on many things, but
mhm.
we're still married to them. We're still one America, and we need to get to where we're first of all children of God. That ties us all together. And second, then after that, we are all Americans before we are Democrats or Republicans. And that supersedes all the rest of things.
And we
Put the main things to be the main
main
things.
things. We recently heard someone say, one side is going to run the country for 4 years, but the other side has to learn to live here.
Mm.
So, like,
And it
maybe
goes
next
back and
time,
forth.
yeah, when the other side's winning, we still have to live here. We have to find a way to live here. And I think that what Jesus came to bring, this kingdom of God that rises above the world system, that's our way out. That's our way up and out, that we can exist in grace and
Yeah,
love and peace despite all the crazy.
yeah,
I think it started for me when I realized how shocked I was that other people didn't think the way I thought. Like it felt like discombobulating. It felt like, who are these people? They think like this? Like, how can they think? And then you want to find people who think like you do, and then you feel like relieved, like, oh,
hmm
you think like you. But the
and it
whole,
validates us when
yeah,
we do that.
but the whole world has multiple perspectives and perceptions. And when I can let down that, why isn't everyone thinking like me? And I still have it, but I recognize it as uh, almost like a defense mechanism. And if I can just calm down and really like listen, it doesn't mean my mind is going to be now all of a sudden I'm going this way, but it helps me to have a connection rather than a conflict
Yeah,
with that
to get into, yeah, and we're
person.
talking about getting into love again. And we'll get it right if we make the main thing the main thing. Love's got to be the main thing, and we'll get it right. Yes, there are things that some things that are being promoted are good, and some things may not be good. I'm not saying that we're just in our kumbaya that we're talking about. It's just not everything's wonderful, no matter what you think. No, there are some policies that are better than others. I'm sure, but we'll get it right if we let love abound and we do more understanding, because otherwise it's just going to be push 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 push, and every 4 or 8 years the power shifts, and then some people are angry and some people are
Well, I
happy.
think it will go to civil war if
It can,
if we don't
it could,
find a way up and
but
over it.
with if we let love abound as
Mhm.
a country, we'll figure it out. We'll figure out what policies are best together.
Mhm.
We can do it that way. Otherwise it's just a push push,
Mhm.
and it keeps escalating, because where that self-seeking is there abides every evil work, and we need to remember that. But where love abounds, there is every good work,
That's good.
and we'll let good works begin to take place and take effect as it rises up in the midst of the people, like the seed that God planted, Jesus, in the earth. Righteousness will abound, goodness, love, joy, peace, the gentle fruit of righteousness will abound in this earth, and it'll be good. And there will be restoration, there will be peace, there will be joy, and that's where it'll come from.
Mhm.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah, thanks for your time and that even listening to the two of us, like we have perceptions and perspectives, and we hope it's encouraging to you. We hope it gives you another thought to think about and not necessarily agree or disagree with us, but just to be open to, other
We're
ideas.
having a conversation.
So thank you for joining us, and we hope you have a really great day.
Have a great day.